Good morning and welcome to the channel. We are back at the cottage. If you remember in the last video, I was here doing all the trim, the window casing, the window jams, and the baseboards. I didn't fasten the baseboards because of that moisture issue. We have since resolved it, we believe, by adding some insulation to the slab out here. You can see there's just some pink rigid insulation there just to provide that thermal break. So far it has worked. We're on the right track, I think, with resolving that, so I can go ahead and install the rest of the trim. But that's not why I'm here. This visit, I'm going to be installing the shower, and I have already begun doing that. Last night I got here and decided to install the tray, the shower tray, the base of it, just to give it the appropriate drying time before I went ahead and did the walls and everything. So I'll show you a clip of that real quick, of me installing it. You'll see that I began with dry fitting the tray itself. It is a customizable tray, so you're able to cut it to whatever dimension you want. Didn't take long, just a few measurements, a few marks. Cut it just with my blade. Dry fit it again to make sure it fit. After I was confident with how it fit, I mixed up my mortar. They recommend using a modified thin set to lay it, so mixed up some of that, applied it to the concrete base, and then also applied it to the back of the styrofoam tray itself, just for a better bond. Once all that was done and ready to go, and then I just installed the tray into the wet mortar bed, and you'll see that I walked on a little square piece of plywood to make sure I pushed it into the mortar and it was flat and there was no air gaps or anything, and that worked pretty well. And then I installed the drain system. Didn't mortar it, I just put it in place and made sure I was happy with it. And that's where I left off today. So we'll go inside. The tray should be dry and we should be ready to go ahead and install the concrete boards onto the walls. So here's the Alino product we've been using, like you just saw of me installing it. This is essentially what it was. This is the excess I cut off, but you can see the back side has some ridges. So that's what I filled up with mortar on the back side. And then you can see the waterproof membrane there is just glued on already to the styrofoam. So this should be dry. The mortar I used was a 12-hour set time, and I did it yesterday. We should be good to go. This is what I have to re-secure at the moment. Oh, it's not even, oops. It's an interesting move. So I'm gonna get organized a little bit, secure this a lot better so it's actually straight, and we'll begin with the concrete hardy board, which is what we'll be using as our tile backer. So in order to know where I have to put this valve or secure it, usually on this mud guard, I think it's what it's called, it will say where your finished wall is, and usually it's flush to the outside of it. So I have to add 1/2 inch tile backer, and my tiles are 3/8, so that's 7/8 total thickness. And then I'll do 1/4 inch for my mortar bed. So that gives me a 1.1/8 finished wall from the framing. So this whole valve has to come out 1/4 inch. I'll just use shims to do that. Not the greatest. So we'll do something like that. Double check. That should be it there. Alright, I'm just going to carry on doing all of this. It's a little time consuming, so I'm not going to record all of it, but pretty straightforward. Just cut my pieces to fit. This board is a little harder to cut, so I'm actually using a circular saw with a concrete blade on it rather than score and snap like other concrete boards you can get. I just wanted this because it was smoother for my waterproof membrane to be applied to. I think it would just be easier in the long run, so a little more time consuming to install. I think technically you can use drywall, moisture resistant drywall where I am, but I think that's just a bad idea, and I wouldn't expect more than 5 years out of having a backer made out of drywall. So going a little over and beyond by using concrete board, but I think it'll be better in the long run. I'm gonna use this for my template for my hole. Just makes it a little easier. So we need a 6-inch hole. The concrete board is all installed and fastened. I can go ahead and begin applying the waterproof membrane. It's similar to most membranes on the market. It's all the same in theory. You just mix up some thin set, apply it to the walls, and then apply this on top of it. So you're basically gluing it on, and that will provide our waterproof seal. For this stuff in particular, it's a 2-inch overlap. So I'm gonna go mix up some mortar and be back in a second to apply it. All right, I got my mortar mixed up here. I was gonna show you, but then I would have spilled it all over the floor. It's a little thin. Turn on some lights. Okay, so here's my membrane. I'm gonna go horizontal on the back wall and then vertical on the end walls, because it will be one sheet if I do it that way on the end walls. Got everything here. This is the trowel I'll be using. I'll apply it with the back side of my trowel first. Kind of key it into the concrete board. And then go back over it with the comb side. Okay, it's all applied. Now I stick on my membrane. Okay, membrane's on, and then I just use the back of my trowel again to embed it. I'll start from the middle, work my way out like this. And I'll just carry on like that, and that's how it's done. So I'm gonna do all this while I have the mortar wet, and I'll get back to you when it's done. I just finished up all the walls with that waterproofing membrane. I'll go ahead and do the pre-formed corners, which are these. And they just sit in the corner like this. So I'll go ahead and do those first. I also have to do this drain flap, and then I'll do all my longer stretches. Okay, so that's the inside corner. I'm gonna go ahead and do all of them and get back to you, and I will do it for this episode, but we'll wait for a few minutes and I'll show you what it looks like when it's completed. All right, I just finished up all the inside corners, overlapping them accordingly, the 2-inch overlap that it requires. Takes about 12 hours for this mortar to dry, so I'll come back tomorrow morning and begin the tiling, which is exciting. Looks good. That will be in the next episode though, so thanks for watching. I'll see you in that one.